Crypto Kids, welcome back to another video. Today, Bitcoin is pushing towards the $62,000 level. The question is, will Bitcoin break it and head towards new local highs, or will Bitcoin break down? And was this an entire fake out pump? Is the bear case completely over? I know so many people have so many different questions, and those questions shall be answered today. So stay tuned until the end. Smash up the like button, subscribe, and let's get into it, because we had some non-farm employment data coming out, and this caused the value of the dollar to fall. Now, the falling dollar has inversely correlated with Bitcoin and increased the price of Bitcoin, pumping us towards the upside. So I will mention this very quickly. On the 15-minute time frame, we have an ascending triangle. And by the way, I've not been on the 15-minute time frame for like forever. So an upwards target, I think 62.7K would be a good level of resistance to hit. But if Bitcoin does have a fake out here, then I think the 60.7K area should be holding pretty strong. Now, in terms of probabilities, honestly speaking, I do not trade lower time frames, so I'm not going to give a huge comment on it. But what we can talk about is definitely the weekly time frame for Bitcoin. If you notice here, Bitcoin, for this halving cycle, we've been in a parabola. Now, we've talked about this many times, so I won't cover it too long. But what we do know is that on Consensio, so the 3, 10, and 30 SMAs, Bitcoin has a very good relationship with them. And during this parabola, in this particular halving cycle, Bitcoin has come down, retested the 30 SMA for now 3 times in a row. And if you notice, Bitcoin actually has formed a reversal hammer candle each time that Bitcoin came down and retested the 30 SMA. If you've been watching prior videos, I've been saying that 56K probably is a good opportunity to be buying Bitcoin. You can go to the video titled "I'm buying Bitcoin now" and look at the comments. Like, people are like, no, Bitcoin's going to crash more, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And yes, there is a lot of demand for Bitcoin at 52K, but if you are DCing in, then it is a wonderful opportunity from my standpoint. So Bitcoin did hold 56K. 56 to 57 was my, one of my final buy the dip opportunities that I've been mentioning, and we are currently rebounding from this level. So the question is the rebound, okay, it's perfect, now we can continue to 70K, or are we going to be dumping towards the downside? So in that perspective, I think that Bitcoin, look, if we compare what happened here, so in base 3 of the parabola to now, then we can see that a very similar thing occurred. So the Bitcoin spot ETFs in the US launched, right? We had a huge exhaustion candle. We had Consensio, so the 3 and 10 period moving averages crossing bearish. If we get rid of price action, and if we also get rid of some of our drawings, it should be much, much more simpler to visualize. So let's hide the drawings as well. So we had Consensio flipping bearish here, and that indicates a weakening of the short-term trend. As soon as Consensio went back up bullish and we had to retest the 30 period moving average, Bitcoin actually pumped by a matter of 60% towards the upside. So usually in a parabola between base 3, so which this was base 3 and base 4, you can go up 100% in price in a very short amount of time. But remember, there is still one more leg left in this parabola. And if Consensio, so if we see a 30, the 10 and the 3 period moving averages crossing bullish into each other, then I will be completely bullish on the market, because we had a beautiful test to the 30 SMA as well. But I would be waiting, honestly, for a weekly confirmation and for these two MAs to cross back bullish to go full 100% long back into Bitcoin. I am full 100% long into Bitcoin already, but I will probably consider adding more margin. So I was looking into opening a $200,000 trade. I'll probably add a similar amount of margin leveraged to my Bitcoin position if we see a crossover back bullish between the 3 and 10 moving averages. So the following candle just has to continue trading above the close of this weekly candle, which will be closing in 2 days and 4 hours. But just to be on the safe side here, I think waiting for a confirmation, waiting for this candle to close, and waiting to see what happens on tomorrow's or next week's candle would be the way forward. So just do be careful there. 59K is still the very crucial level that Bitcoin needs to close above. If we do see a closure, then we could be saved by literally a thread of the needle. But let's see what happens. I think overall the macroeconomics are pretty weak, and that's exactly what we will be talking about in just a second. But what was the chart here? Okay, so I personally don't think that it's a cycle top yet. It could be a local top for Bitcoin, but the bull market is for sure not over. And the way we can tell this is with the Pi cycle top indicator. I've actually been talking about this indicator for 2 years now. If you go back to my very, very old videos, I think it was 2 years ago summer, I was talking about the price cycle top, and we can see here that the price cycle top has perfectly identified almost all of the tops for Bitcoin, at least in the past, since 2013, basically. Whenever we did have a price cycle top, Bitcoin reversed into, well, this was a short-term bear market, and the rest were, of course, the huge bear markets we experienced afterwards. On the weekly time frame, it's more accurate because on the weekly, it also called the top we experienced in the first half of 2021. Now, on the weekly time frame, the price cycle top has still not emerged. And until we get a price cycle top, I'm still very much bullish on Bitcoin. And fingers crossed, I think we can head a lot higher. On the monthly time frame, Bitcoin has tested the bull and bear market support bands perfectly, which is something that we do in bull market cycles, as I explained on the research report and as I explained on previous videos too. So if Bitcoin, in summary, is able to close above 61K ideally, or 59.5K, and the following week's candle opens in the green and continues trading higher, and we have a crossover, a bullish crossover between the 3 and 10 moving averages, that's the point where I'm going to go, okay, full bull mode. But until this happens, I'm still very much cautious because the trend is currently bearish. If we see a flipping of this trend, then everything should be fantastic. But that concludes our Bitcoin analysis. So the reason why we were actually pumping is because the Dixie's falling. We had the unemployment claims get released into the market, and they are looking terrible. Okay, this is a sneak peek into my music taste. But we can see here that the non-farm employment change was pretty bad. We have 175,000 new jobs added to the economy, whereas the markets were predicting 238,000 jobs. The last time it was 315,000 jobs. What's super funny is the Fed Chair Powell on the FOMC live stream, he mentioned that he does not see the stag or deflation in stagflation happening in the US economy. But just to kind of clear that up, we have the labor market tanking, absolutely tanking. If we look at the full-time employment is losing, right? We're losing full-time employment. It's the part-time employment that's carrying us. And that is a terrible sign. Also to keep in mind that people having 2 or more jobs at the same time, that's also at an all-time high. It just means that people cannot sustain their lives with just one job. And that is a terrible thing to be looking at. So overall, I think employment is going terrible. The labor market is very bad. Inflation is still increasing. We have high interest rates. So people cannot spend. They cannot put any money into the economy. And that's why they need to up the printer. Otherwise, we will go into a stagflation and the markets will crash. And this is the M2. This is the overall money supply. And we can see here clearly that the money printer is about to go brrr. That's the only way that they can save the economy. Why is this important? Well, in 2021, November was the all-time high for the money supply. And guess what was also an all-time high? Bitcoin. So the more money that is released into the market, the more money people have to put into things like Bitcoin. So this is actually a good sign, but they are delaying an inevitable huge reset in the economy where the actual reserve currency gets shifted and the world economic power gets shifted into a different country. The national debt is too high. The actual deficit between expenditures and GDP is not sustainable at all to eventually be paying back these debts. So the US is not going to a great place, unfortunately, with their economy. So yes, eventually there will be a massive crash. I think 2026 will be the year where we see this crash. Because if Trump goes into office, President Trump goes back into office, he wants to implement certain policies that will actually worsen the economy. So I'm not too confident with what is happening there. But in terms of the Bitcoin ETFs, I'm actually super bullish. This is the final thing that I will get into before ending off the video. And it's that between March 4th and March 15th, Bitcoin rose by 16.6% in value. And because the price of Bitcoin rose, the demand for ETFs increased, so they accumulated $4.8 billion in just a matter of 11 days. This time around, Bitcoin dumped a similar percentage to the increase. We dumped by 15.2%, but the spot ETFs outputted only $1.2 billion. That is a 4x difference, ladies and gentlemen. And that to me is so bullish because clearly the ETFs do not want to be selling their Bitcoin. The average buy-in for spot ETF investors in the US, lies between $57,000 to $58,000. So naturally, the institutions want to keep price above these levels so people do not go into a loss. And that is another reason why we may potentially not go below 57K. But look, yesterday was a great opportunity. The greed was actually, the fear was at all-time highs when you look into the past year. So in a time of fear, usually it's a good idea to start accumulating. In a time of greed, when we're at like 95 extreme greed, that's the time to take some profits off of the table. So keep this theory in mind. It belongs to Warren Buffett, and it's proven to be successful for the past so many decades. So that is exactly the strategy that I'm approaching with my leveraged trading portfolio. But of course, with my long-term HODL portfolio, I don't care if the greed or if the fear is at like 20, I will not sell. That is the rule with my hodling portfolio. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, we can see that the short-term holders, so the weak hands or the new entrants into the market, they're not selling their Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, when Bitcoin dumped after March 14th, there was more short-term investors selling their Bitcoin compared to what we're seeing today. And that, to me, again, is super, super bullish once more. People are not selling regardless of how much they're losing. They're keeping and diamond handing their Bitcoin. But guys and girls, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to smash up the likes. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Keep on the Telegram community. I do share my analysis there when I cannot make a video. So join using the top right-hand section. I'll put a card over there, or you can go into the link in the description down below. But guys and girls, as I said, have a great weekend, and I will see you all on the next video. Take care, and bye-bye.